Beyond Two Souls is a game/interactive movie by Quantic Dream and David Cage, or as the artistically pretentious avant-garde peers call him, David Cage, who apparently says that game overs are a failure of the game designer, which is extremely stupid since failure makes it fun to play.
No. No.
It wasn't always the case though. Fahrenheit has a reload from last save thing, just like Mass Effect. Omikron had saves.
Uh-oh. Hey, what the? So, the rings! They're floating in the air. I don't know what that means. I get the impression that I'm the only one who can see them. Because I'm on the path. I'm on the path. So use them. Oh, this is how you save. Okay. Yes. What? Player J? Damn it! Why? Whatever. Player J. Sure. Save. Just save.
And a no game over thing, but it was done in an ingenious way which fits the premise, which I think is very cool. It started at heavy rain. There was no game over until all of your character dies.
However, there is a consistent amount of tension in playing Heavy Rain, and this is due in large part to the fact that your characters can die. The game does not offer you a reset option when this happens. It will continue with the remaining characters in various ways until the game ends, and everyone's story can end differently depending on who makes it through and who doesn't.
But this isn't a bad thing since it has an impact on the narrative. As for its spiritual successor, there's no game over. Even if you totally fuck up, the game will move on. Seriously, you can't fail anything.
Shit, that's her! That's her!
It's also really hard to feel the tension in any of the action sequences, as the game shows you very early on that Aiden can protect Jodie with the magical ghost force field. So anytime that Jodie's in danger, it doesn't really matter because you know, at the very least, he can just protect her from everything, killing any amount of tension they could possibly build. Beyond Two Souls is not a good game by any stretch of the imagination. I actually think I liked Heavy Rain's gameplay more, because at least there your actions had consequences and could dramatically alter the plot, whereas Beyond has no such thing. It's barely a game, as it very clearly wants to be a movie.
This removes all suspense. And it's not just the game over things, it's a story too. Omikron's story might get wrecked in a deep analysis, but on the surface it's somewhat adequate since the premise doesn't take itself seriously. Fahrenheit was a great supernatural thriller, but gets destroyed by silliness and contrived Dragon Ball shenanigans at the end. I haven't watched a playthrough of Heavy Rain, but I heard from Confused Matthew that it was a hell of a story.
Point, we get a flashback scene explaining everything. When the Origami Killer was little, he had a twin brother and a deadbeat father. He and his brother went to play one day when his brother fell in an open pipe and was on the verge of death. Desperate to save his brother, he ran back to tell his father, but the father was too drunk and too hateful of both of them to help. He eventually returns to his twin, who asks him not to forget him, and finally dies. When the Origami Killer was older, he began kidnapping boys and putting them in similar situations to his brothers, so that the fathers would come and rescue them. His goal, therefore, turns out not to kill the children, but rather to find the father that he needed that day. I'm going to go out on a huge limb here, I know, but the Origami Killer's motivations might just be the most interesting, the most unique, and the most original motivations of any killer in video game or in film. The Origami Killer is a serial killer who doesn't want his victims to die. On the contrary, he wants them to be saved. He isn't actually looking to hurt or kill anyone. He is looking for the very thing he needed when he was a child. And this is in perfect cross-harmony with Ethan, whose motivations are to be that very father figure to Sean. These two stories culminate into an impressive feat of storytelling. Ethan is, in many ways, the father that the Origami Killer needed, and the Origami Killer is essentially the son that Ethan has been trying to save. These are by far the standout aspects of Heavy Rain's story. The Origami Killer's motivations are fantastic and make all the sense in the world. Who the Origami Killer turns out to be does not.
Unfortunately, plot holes.
Blake is convinced that Mars is the killer.
Not you. I thought there was some evidence to that effect.
That's true. But it just doesn't make sense. His psychological profile doesn't fit.
You know who else didn't fit the profile? Scott Shelby. But that's exactly who the killer turns out to be. Making the killer the person whom you least suspect is a bedrock tradition of the whodunit, but this becomes a serious problem when a player has control over the character's actions. Shelby being the killer is contrary to how I chose to play that character in the game, and as my first run-through was spent trying to make him act the way I honestly thought his character would, this makes it all the more heinous of a reveal. It didn't matter how I chose to play that character because they were going to make the killer whoever they wanted, whenever they wanted, however they wanted. So what was the point of all that decision making in the first place? Adding to this is the fact that when you start backtracking, you realize that Shelby's role in the game now makes little sense. Essentially, we are to believe that he accompanied Lauren to track down and remove his own evidence. But he could have easily done this on his own without bringing her along, and the only reason she was involved at all is because he went to her in the first place. This is not even the worst part of this reveal. Red herrings are of course expected in a story such as this, but there comes a point in the game where it's just plain cheating you out of a key piece of information. At one point, you as Shelby go with Lauren to a shop to try and track down a lead, and you go about your business in real time in the game. But in the flashback scene, it is revealed that Shelby actually killed the shopkeeper while you, the player, were controlling him. The game did not let you see this when you were in control of Shelby, and so the whole thing was simply a betrayal of the gameplay experience. I don't care if you are writing a book, movie, or video game. If you don't give us a fair chance at figuring it out in a whodunit, you may as well not even bother making it a mystery in the first place. Every part of Shelby being the killer just feels wrong, and once you get to the end of the story and start backtracking about it, all the tiny errors and plot holes start coming out of the woodwork.
So with that said, Beyond the Souls, its spiritual successor, is an exercise at telling a bad interactive story. Okay, before we start the analysis, I'm going to mention a few things. First of all, I was going to use Smart-Voice EMS system, but I feel that it would overwork me. So I'm gonna just mention the problems of this game and make a list at the end of how to fix this crap. But I'm gonna use it for something worse if I feel like it. Also, when I said more content coming soon, and it's not soon, sorry about that, I'm lazy. Finally, no, I didn't play this game. Sorry, I don't own a PS3 and my family has more important things to spend on. And my brother is a PC Master Race guy. However, if you have complaints about this, please feel free to send me a PS3 where I live. Okay, let's begin.
I was born with a strange
Cue ugly Ellen Page narrative for some reason.
see what no human being has ever seen before. It's all mixed up in
We then get this scene.
I found you.
Willem Dafoe
Up against. Tell them to wait until I get there. Get
and dead SWAT guys. Somehow. We get introduced to the 50 Shades of Grey DNA energy thing. That is our timeline. Yes, this game doesn't tell its story linearly. It doesn't go forwards, backwards, or both. It goes all over the place, like it just don't care. And it causes the most problems to the story. Let me demonstrate it to you. Let's call these dots scenes. Imagine if you're thrusted into one of these scenes with no context. Now imagine this happening all over again for trillions of time. You might learn a thing or two about the characters, but it ruins the mood conveyed in each scene, and this causes problems in constructing interactive stories, since the choices are more likely to be superficial, because most of the scenes have been constructed prematurely. The amount of important choice is limited. I'm not saying This kind of thing can't be possibly good. I'm just saying, you need the good writer. And David Cage isn't a good writer. So we start off with Jodie playing in a heavily surveyed room. Then this black dude comes in. And we get our first tutorial on movement. Wait a second. Right thumbstick to stand up. We then get more tutorials via some kind of test.
Okay, let's start. Kathleen is next door, and she has the same cards as you. And we're gonna get her to choose one and see if you can tell us which one she chose.
Which you cannot botch.
Should say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And then you can create tension between Aiden and Ellen Page.
Why aren't you? Oh, it's
Write
a square.
a story.
Okay, I'm gonna take control back.
If you don't like this story, write your own.
Okay,
Right.
hit triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, let's do some story bending, guys.
Plus.
Story bending.
Plus.
I'm gonna hit the plus.
What now, David Cage? What now?
You can do it.
All right.
Oh, we can't go forward.
It's gonna do that infinitely.
God fucking damn it.
And we already know this because he says don't play the game more than once.
He says that.
He says about all his games.
And you can't get game overs because they're a failure of the game designer.
And we can possess a scientist, but it leads us nowhere.
It's over here. Holy shit! Huh.
I didn't leave him alone.
Wow! I am people. Hello, friends.
Oh, Craig. You okay? Yeah.
Wow. Left bumper and both thumbsticks. That's odd.
We started making some research on how ghosts would move or even a fish would swim underwater.
We thought that using orbs is an interesting approach. It would give us this physicality that we need to interact with matter.
It became really something natural to assign them to the two analog sticks and have to play with them to focus them, or on the opposite, to split them apart.
So it's supposed to represent ghosts. How? Aiden then goes Hulk smash and the lady freaks out. However, Aiden uses ghost powers to lock the door, so she's pretty much fucked. We have the choice to stop Aiden, but it pretty much leads to this cutscene.
It's over, Jodie. It's over. It's over.
It will never be over.
Anyways, we fade to black on Cole and Nathan comforting a young, nose-bleeding Jodie, which shows us how dangerous Aiden is and how basically a monster he is. It's a great setup, don't get me wrong, but it never got resolved. It just disappears somewhere along the timeline. Great. Thank you, David Cage. So next, we get to look at the embassy.
Everybody will be dancing and be doing it right. Everybody will be dancing and feeling alright. Everybody will be dancing and doing it right. Everybody will be dancing and feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and doing it right. Everybody will be dancing and feeling alright. Everybody will be dancing and feeling it right.